guys, when it comes to working on yourself inside of this coaching program, most of you guys know this is not just a physical transformation, but more so a mental and emotional and spiritual transformation, right? That's how you become the best version of yourself. And what's funny is like one of the top dogs that has an amazing transformation, like Coach Brian, that got six-pack abs and everything like that. One of the things that he absolutely just didn't resonate with in the very beginning, at least, right? Or thought it was woo-woo nonsense, was affirmations. Is that safe to say when you first heard about it?
Absolutely. I mean, it might still be safe to an extent to say,
Yeah, and
but
it's safe to
I'm
say.
bored. I've taken a couple steps on board.
Yeah, yeah, we're not jumping off the high dive, right? But we're at least like looking down over the water, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, so let me give you guys some clarity on affirmations, and then Jason, you can also talk in terms of your whole transformation because it's really inspiring. Probably way so more inspiring than I'll ever have to say anything about my own when it comes to affirmations. But guys, affirmations might sound a lot of like new age, woo-woo nonsense, like spirituality, just like bull crap, right? The way I break it down like this in terms of like, being a Christian is one, I look at the one Bible verse, Proverbs 18:21, that says, Death and life are found in the power of the tongue, right? So I'm a firm believer in that. Like, okay, let's just pull some of that out of that, where it's like, what are the words that we're saying to ourselves? In fact, show of hand, guys, how often do we like give amazing advice to our best friends or our family members or our spouses, but yet we don't take our own advice, right? Is that safe to say? Okay, for most of us. So, little story real quick before Jason talks is that I'll never forget my MMA coach, my very first fight. I remember I was shaking like a leaf. In fact, it's funny too. I'll give you guys the whole rundown, okay? I'm 18 years old. That's in the state of Ohio. You're legally allowed to fight at the age of 18. So I started training at 17. First fight literally was in October. I forget what year it was, but I turned 18 in August. I fought my first MMA fight in October. And the guy that I versed, right? He was, I think, 33 years old or 32 years old, and I'm 18, right? He comes walking in the weigh-ins, and my last name is Callari, and he's like, "Where's calamari? Where's calamari? It's time to eat, time to eat." And like, I don't know anything, right? I'm a little kid, right? And I'm like, "Oh shoot, like this dude he's gonna whoop my butt, right?" And so I remember just being so nervous, right? And plus, like, it's intimidating too because I've never done this before, and you show up in this one location. The morning of the fights, everybody's in their boxers or naked, weighing in to make weights, and then everybody's drinking Pedialyte afterwards to rehydrate. And this is all a whole new experience to me. Well, fast forward like 8 hours later, when it comes to actual the fight night after weigh-ins, I'm feeling good. I'm hitting the mitts back there, right? Talking with my coach, my cornerman, and the dude comes running back and literally pulls open our curtain because they had a red side and they had a blue side. So all the people on the red corner were, training and warming up for their fight on this side, and the other people on this side. He literally rips up this whole entire thing, right? He's like, Kalari, I'm gonna kick your ass tonight. He's like, you better get ready. And in my head, I'm thinking like, I need to leave. I need to go home. Like this, I signed up for the wrong thing right here, right? So sure enough, we walk out to the fight, but before we do that, I remember my coach just sitting down and chatting with me, and he's like, "Hey, listen, man." He's like, "You are so focused on him. You're so focused on all the lights, the sound, the environment, the crowd, and all this stuff. You're forgetting about who you really are." He's like, "If I can make any suggestion right now, because this might go in one ear or out the other, or it might really stick with you." He's like, I really suggest that you start to focus on what do you need to tell yourself to get mentally prepared before you go out there in front of thousands of people and fight this guy. And I'll never forget, like it really did stick with me because at that moment it was a big light bulb effect showing me that even though I was physically strong, I was mentally weak, you know? And that's humbling, honestly. And I'm really happy that that situation happened. So ever since then, granted, I got my butt kicked that fight, but hey, it gave me the encouragement to say, all right, that wasn't so bad. Let me sign up again. And then the second fight I won, and then the snowball effect of like my MMA career. But every single fight since that very first one, I'll never forget what my coach taught me. And so literally, I would always be in the back, I'm hitting the mitts, and I would just say something like, I'm a beast. I got this. I train hard for this. I've been in situations way worse than this, right? These little just pep talks to myself. Now, granted, right, these could be affirmations, all right? And I'm never going to be the one that's going to tell somebody is like, hey, if you're 400 pounds, the man boobs, the beer belly, right? You can barely walk up and down the stairs without feeling winded. It would be horrible for you to look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I got six pack abs because that's an affirmation, right? That is going to do more harm than good. So, how I typically like to coach guys, especially on their fitness journey, is use an affirmation that you know is true. And it could be something so small, so simple, like looking at yourself in the mirror or just talking to yourself on your way to work. That's how I typically like do my affirmations now, just because of my season of life being so busy. But you can start off with, hey, my name is what? And then, hey, today is what? Right? So now it's like, hey, my name is Joe Callari. Today is Monday. I'm on the way to the gym today, and I'm going to have a great day. Now, if you think about it, right, that last part, that is an affirmation. Anything that is an I am statement and then something afterwards. It doesn't have to be this, hey, I'm this millionaire. I'm this, physique competitor with six pack abs. It doesn't have to be these crazy backflips and burpees. Once again, that can do more harm than good because that's when you get that imposter syndrome, right? And it's very hard to fake it till you make it. So what I like to say is, how do we just massage, right? Get into it. We don't need to go to home base just yet, right? Let's just focus on getting first. And how can we do that is by saying, hey, what is our name? What is today? What is our intentions for the day? Right? And we can start building up some confidence to that. And I kid you not, guys, we need that confidence, right? And it's so important to be more mentally stronger, emotionally stronger, especially on our own health and fitness journey. Because why? You're always going to be faced storms. You're always going to be faced roadblocks. You're always going to be faced challenges, right? That's preventing you from getting where you're trying to get to in life. Hence why people get stuck because mentally they don't know how to navigate. They don't know how to become their own best friend. They don't love themselves enough, right, to say these things to themselves to help them over the edge. Meaning that if let's just say I'm on my health and fitness journey and I sprain my ankle and I can't run anymore, I can't go to the gym anymore, that could be a slippery slope to just going back to my old ways. But if I'm using something like an affirmation, like, hey, I am mentally strong. I can overcome this, right? I am capable of navigating through life's curveballs. I'm unstoppable no matter what life tries to throw my way. Guess what? That's going to hype me up. And like an affirmation, guys, is nothing more than a pre-workout. It's not your post-workout recovery shake, right? It's once again a pre-workout. It's something that you can say to yourself just to help you, right? Because at the end of the day, like oftentimes, especially as dads, we're on this journey by ourselves unless we have a community. So it's like if we can start talking to ourselves like we truly love ourselves, like we truly believe of ourselves, that's going to help us gain more confidence within ourselves. And the best part in all that, and this is a big shout out to Dennis, and I'll actually just grab this right now. If you guys have kids, you can easily get involved. Simple affirmations. I honestly wish my parents would have started doing something like this with me at a very early age, just simply because my son is 6 years old. And for us, every single day to just say these small little things like, I am kind, I am smart, I am brave, I am capable, I'm strong, I'm grateful, I'm helpful, I'm loved, I'm enough. Like, think about the confidence that he's building up at an early age. So, Jason, I want to go to you now because you had probably one of the best transformations, once again, mentally, when it comes to overcoming a lot of challenges. And I know that you talk about how often that affirmations was like the worst thing in the world. You couldn't even look at yourself in the mirror. But then, sure enough, right? Repetition is the mother of all learning, just like Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, Outwitting the Devil. Eventually, you start to feel a little bit more comfortable for you. Would you mind opening up with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is hard. Most men have a problem looking at themselves in the eyes and being truthful and being positive, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Um, it's so much easier for us to talk about ourselves in a negative light, which does so much damage to everything that we are, right? We were on one of these Zoom calls, and I think it kind of clicked because at the beginning, I thought the affirmations woo woo, like we always say, right? And they're difficult to say, but uh, Coach Wade, Jeremy Wade, had said something that really kind of hit home. He said something to the effect of it takes 20 positive thoughts to erase one negative thought. And I really started thinking about, man, how many positive thoughts am I going to have to tell myself to get rid of all the negative stuff I've told myself throughout life? Um, And that really hit home because I mean, that's a lot, right? To think
Yeah.
about. So, it was just one of those things at the beginning, I was like, man, this really sucks looking at myself saying these things. But, we did some exercises here. People started posting them in the group. Coach Dennis had made those awesome things that you just showed. I have one of those. And it showed that it doesn't have to be this elaborate thing. It can be very simple words, and that's how I started out. Very simple, saying my name, saying I'm strong, saying I'm worthy, and it just evolved. I kept saying it over and over again until finally I was able to look at myself and said, man, I love you,
Yeah.
and that's hard as a man to say you love yourself. But I finally got there, and that's what really turned the corner for me.
Yeah. And so Jason, full picture now. You start off, what was your beginning weight?
About 360,
And what is your current weight?
245,
And in that journey, did life ever throw you any kind of challenges or curveballs?
massive ones here, there, and everywhere.
Did affirmations ever help you just give you peace of mind, mental clarity, and maybe just a little pep in your step and a little hype to say, hey, I can overcome this?
Absolutely, because there was one, and you gotta take context. There was one a great one that you gave that everything is always happening in my favor, and you
Yeah.
got to be careful with that because there's some really crappy things that happen in life, and it doesn't mean that thing that happened is actually a good thing. But it's always what I say is that little pinpoint of light at the end of that dark tunnel. You got to want to look for that, and that's what I think that affirmation really hits home, that everything is always working out in my favor, no matter what is going on.
Reach, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like Steve Jobs has an amazing quote about this. He says, you can't connect the dots looking forward in life, but you can always connect the dots looking backwards in life. There's somebody that just recently joined in today's call, and I know his whole entire story when he got signed up, right? And there was also a death in the family that was close to home, right? Once again, like that's very hard to deal with. But looking at where he is today, how he is as a father, how he is as an amazing chef, by the way, right? And being that inspiration for others, right? Always being a light for others in the community. He is on this path now of once again embracing that and helping out others, right? Despite there was a dark place. And we're always going to go through some darkness, in our life. And that's where, once again, having an affirmation, whether it's everything is working out in our favor or, hey, I can overcome this. I've overcame more in the past or whatever the case may be, whatever we need to say to just kind of help us. Remember, affirmations, guys, there's nothing crazy new age about it or woo-woo nonsense unless you want it to be that way. If I'm walking around and once again being 400 pounds, man boobs and everything, saying I got six pack abs, I'm a physique competitor and whatever. Yeah, like that's probably not gonna do any good. But on the flip side, it's like, how do we once again mold and just easily use affirmations just help us on our journey? And those affirmations cards that I send out to everybody when they first get signed up, Jason, if you remember, the last one is, I love myself for who I am and who I am becoming, right? And that is like by far one of my favorite ones to say because there's a lot of truth to that. One, if you love yourself deeply, right, you're going to do what? Have boundaries, set standards for yourself, rise to the occasion, not sit with inside of your comfort zone. But also at the same time, there's so much truth to I am becoming this person. And that journey never ends until we're 6 feet under, guys, right? Because we're constantly striving for greatness. We're constantly striving to be better. We never want to stay with inside of our comfort zone, even when we're at the top of the mountain, right? It's just like the old saying goes, the wolf that's climbing the mountain is way hungrier than the wolf that's at the top. And that's what I want you guys to always remember is continue to climb, right? Don't ever focus on being to the top because as we often say, the best part about this whole entire transformation is not the number on the scale afterwards, not getting off your medications, reversing your type 2 diabetes. Yes, those are all great, but it's gaining the knowledge of who you became in that transformation. And the best part about who you become in that transformation is also being that light for others. So that way you can lead, right, them and be an example. So, Brian, I started with you and I want to go back to you. You mentioned, right, that you started doing some affirmations maybe quite some time ago. You do them a little bit differently, though. So, I would like for you, right, to give some context in that just because maybe somebody doesn't want to stare themselves in the mirror. Maybe they just want to say it within their head or something like that. And I want them to feel like there's, once again, just like anything I preach about health and fitness, there's not a right way and there's not a wrong way. It's just about showing up, right? Everybody's different. Some people could put their protein powder in a shake. Some people could put their protein powder in yogurt. Some people can put their protein powder in some coffee, like myself. Regardless, hey, it's all going in the same hole, right? That's it. It's the proteins that's getting absorbed. So, how do you like to do your affirmations, Brian? And then also, I would like to know your feedback in terms of like, was this conversation helpful?
Absolutely. Okay, so yeah, it was a lot like Jeremy. Jason. It was just weird looking myself in the mirror and saying these things. You told me, I forget how early on it was. You told me, well, you've got to create some type of morning program, something to kick your day off. And it was early on, and we started talking about gratitude and different things like that. So I took my why, my family, and I've got pictures of my family and some scriptures and different Bible verses, just different. Um, I have a I voted sticker because I have a memory of me and my son with our little stickers. I took him to vote one time. And so it's just memories that are on my mirror, on my dresser. And so every morning when I get up, I see those things and I have those scriptures that I remind myself of. I have those little post-it notes of things that happened and it just reminds me to be be gracious and to have gratitude for those things. And that's my why. So that's how I started kicking off my morning and reminding myself of why I was doing what I was doing, why I was putting myself through what I was doing. Um, and funny thing, Joe, it actually drove me to actually use those affirmations as you do. And because I remember telling myself multiple times, Brian, you are capable. Brian, you are smart enough because I in this new position. I have to use a lot of math. I have to do a lot of figuring and things like that. And man, it's so intimidating to me. But I'm able to tell myself, Brian, and I wouldn't have done this before. I would have just got somebody else to help me. But Brian, you are capable. You are smart enough. You can figure this out. Look at what you've done before. So it's that drive to create a morning program, however I did it, actually drove me into understanding affirmations as you use. And I find myself using those affirmations in a workout, at work, and throughout life. And then I tell my kids that. I found my daughter just the other day had her little affirmations on her mirror in her door or her apartment. Man,
I love
talk
that.
about warming my heart, dude. That was amazing. Where did she get that from?
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So like, and to just tag off that before we close, I want everybody to just realize this, okay? And that might sound like a broken record, but there's so much truth to this. As a man, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So, Brian, I'm going to use you for example. If let's say you would have never had a morning routine or never started saying affirmations and all that stuff, your daughter potentially maybe never be writing the affirmations on that mirror, right? So it's like, guys, we have to take this with a grain of salt. As much cliche as it sounds, as a man, how you do one thing is how you do everything. There's so much truth to this. It's just like we can't tell our kids to, hey, exercise and eat healthier and, be more active if we're the guys that's coming home from work, slamming a beer, putting, sports game on or Netflix and just chilling, vegging out, right? It doesn't make sense. Why? Because actions speak louder than words. And going back to the affirmations, right? That's actions and that's words, right? Like you have to do it within yourself first. But the best part is that you can use your own transformation, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the physical, right? In terms of doing that to once again be that light for others. Where it's just like, hey, I don't want to tell my son one day that, hey, you got this. You got this, Oakley, right? Like you're so strong, you're so capable, you're so fast, like you can overcome this. But like I'm never telling myself that. It's like I would much rather my son see me at the darkest point of my hour, right? And just feel like the weight of the world's on my shoulders, right? All the arrows are being shot at me. And I would love for my son to see me in my office or see me on my ride to the gym and just saying like, Joe, we got this. Nothing's gonna stop us, right? That's gonna have way more of an effect on him by him seeing me doing it instead of the other side, right? Where I'm just telling him to do something. Because why? Actions speak louder than words.